now you have Russell Westbrook come into this equation, and there may be more upside for what he can eventually do and how he can figure out how to play next to LeBron and AD. But in the meantime, it might be tricky, and you might see some of the growing pains you even saw in the preseason game against the Warriors, because Russ is not a role player, right? Who's just out there spacing on one side and then defending on the other. Like, he's got his own elite skills and gifts, and those take some getting used to. So it's just a different makeup of the team, and it's one that is going to take some time, as the guys keep saying, to get to. The question is, how many games can they win in the meantime? Well, with LeBron essentially leading the way, and then AD right next to him. That's the early season question.
How is Westbrook acclimating to this team? I know it's kind of the honeymoon period. I mean, we barely got in any preseason games so far as recording of this podcast, but is his vibe positive in terms of how he's acclimating to his teammates? I know, I believe himself, LeBron, and Anthony Davis dubbed themselves 360s, so a little bit of a camaraderie thing there. How has he been adjusting to LA so far?
Well, I think you have to separate the off-court and the on-court here, because off the court, Westbrook has actually, to me, always gotten along great with teammates. Like, he's always been a guy that's super well liked within the room, and that's within the locker room, within the film room. He's just you get this kind of intense Russell Westbrook that we sometimes see on the outside, but he's not a guy that comes in and demands that things need to be a certain way and isn't vibing with teammates. Like, that's not Russ. That's not the Russ that I've seen, and the one that's been described to me by some other people. So off the court, all that stuff has been good. Like, they all seem to really be on the same page. They really want to try and maximize what they're going to do. On the court, I think, is where it's going to take some more time, because Russ is, like many players at this stage of their careers, a creature of habit to some extent, and he's used to playing a certain way. He's used to his teams, Justin, needing him to do a ton on the offensive side of the court, especially. And so I think that's left him with either less focus or energy or whatever you want to put it on the defensive side of the court, or when he doesn't have the ball. And that's just natural. I think that's how a lot of these things work in a league. You could say the same thing about a player like a Damian Lillard, who has to shoulder such a big load on offense, right? That is he giving you that same amount on the defensive end? Maybe not. And so that's the thing that has to evolve, I think, in what he is pledging to figure out. But it helps that you've got a guy that wants to do that, right? That it's just that it's going to take some time.
So as we get further into the season, and I'm asking you kind of use your crystal ball here, Mike, if in fact Westbrook is committing those turnovers and just trying to kind of work his game into the existing kind of situation that LeBron and Anthony Davis has, is the team going to be patient? Do you get the feeling that LeBron's going to have just the latitude to let Westbrook just make those mistakes, have those games where he has those multiple turnovers? So like during playoff time, hey, LeBron was very forgiving, during the regular season when Westbrook has those frustrating games. So when it comes playoff time, then, they can kind of kick it into high gear and get their chemistry right. What do you think in terms of like LeBron's patience when, Westbrook is going to have those games where he's going to have multiple turnovers?
No, I think LeBron is very invested in this. I think he was clearly involved in the whole process of the acquisition of Westbrook, of the trade, or at least in the theory of it, right? I think Rob Pelinka has been pretty clear that LeBron and he and Anthony Davis have an open dialogue about stuff. So because it's not something that just got put upon LeBron, hey, sure, LeBron, here's Russell Westbrook, figure it out, right? I think this is something that he's been invested in figuring out himself. And that, to me, will go a long ways towards him doing it on the actual court. And to me, LeBron is just the extreme best example of a guy who's going to figure out what it takes to win, because he can do everything. Does he need to pass a little bit more? Does he need to be a little bit more aggressive? Does he need to space out a little more? Where does he need to help on the defensive side of the court? Like, he's got answers, Justin, to all the questions. And every time the Lakers practice, he'll stop the play if he needs to and just talk about it. Preseason game, regular season game, that's where the film room comes in. So they'll watch after. But it's not just LeBron there. It's Rajon Rondo, right, who's great at watching film and bringing this stuff out. And Frank Vogel is the guy that came from the film room. So I have confidence in basically am just buying into that LeBron will figure it out. And that's I think a better place to be than what a lot of NBA rosters, have in terms of questions. Like, yes, it's not necessarily the easiest and most natural fit like LeBron and Anthony Davis were, but LeBron's the guy that's going to be able to have some of the answers.